What's going on, guys? Kai here. Today's the video everyone's been waiting for, the new crit equation. So I'm going to have it all right here. Let me hide my face so you can see this a little bit better. But I'm going to have all this on my Discord, and the resources channel has pretty much everything you ever need for the game. But this took some testing, guys. So I have the equation at the bottom right here, as well as some explanations and things above. I'm going to read you through it, then we're going to move over to the game to show you what I'm talking about. So we'll start from the bottom. So, as you all know, crit is crit minus crit immunity. My stats explained video that I've done before kind of explains how the base stats work. This is still true, but this is going to be used in a later part of this new equation. The big thing here with the new equation is before, if you had enough crit, you can ignore break and ignore your enemy block, because all it was doing in its spaghetti codeness is just this part of the equation, crit minus crit immunity, which is effectively crit minus tenacity plus other resources to get crit immunity. Whereas block is your block minus the enemy's break. And the part that people are ignoring in this is the block ignore. Block ignore is going to happen first. It's very similar to, if you want to think about it a certain way, it's very similar to something like pierce. With actual damage, it's attack minus defense equals damage to health. Where pierce ignores a certain amount of someone's defense, and protection rate is like the defensive to that. It ignores their pierce so you can still have your defense. Coincidentally, there is no anti-block ignore, which makes it a more powerful stat than even pierce under the new rule, as we'll see. Block ignore only comes from very specific resources, such as class advancements. It's very hard to get, but very, very powerful now. So block ignore is going to happen first. So let's just do some random numbers. Let's say break is 100, block is 200, right? So I have block ignore, let's say 50%. That's a wild number. That makes your block 100. So now I do block minus break, which is 100 minus 100, which is 0. So I mean, minus 50% is a wild number. It's just the easier way to think of it, right? So block ignore gets way more powerful under the new rule. Break is obviously fine, but if you want to deal damage, if your block ignore is a percentage, so I would much rather, as a damage dealer, have block ignore than just break, as it's a flat number, and continue to focus on my crit. We'll talk about the numbers now. If we look up here to the big splurge I have right there, crit change. Say you have 300% crit rate and the target has 100% break. Say you have 300% crit rate and 100% break rate. Enemy has 200% crit immunity and 150% block rate. Currently, your final crit rate would be 300 minus 200, which is crit minus crit immunity equals 100%. So 100% chance to crit you. And the enemy's final block rate is 150, which is block rate, minus break, which is 100. So they have a 50% chance to block you. You also cannot crit if the damage is blocked. So both of these are important for crit, making crit harder to do, which is why I am suggesting to go for crit and block ignore. Under the new rule, your crit rate is 100 divided by 100 plus 50, which is 66% instead of 100%, and the enemy final block rate is 50 divided by 100 plus 50, so 33%. This means we're losing about a third of our crit rate from before if just building crit, and crit builds require break, and this is ignoring block ignore mattering. I'm going to have to write something up, which I will put in my resources as well, to show you how block ignore changes this equation, but it is very substantial. It's just when we get block ignore, it's normally in a very small amount, but it is going to be really, really powerful. If you don't know, when you deal damage, let's come back over to the game. As you can see, I'm dealing damage. These orange numbers are crit damage. The pink numbers that are popping up are my fairies damage. White numbers are regular damage. Green numbers are obviously healing, and you probably won't see any, but in a grayed out version of the white numbers is a blocked damage. So moving back over to here, a crit cannot be blocked as it was already checked in the equation. This was the same in the old version. A crit cannot be blocked, which is why they would never have to build break, because it was doing if X, then we don't have to do Y. If my crit is higher than your crit immunity, then I crit. Which under the old version it was crit minus crit immunity equals I just crit. I ignore the second part of the equation, which is your block. Now you have to do both. You have to pass that crit check, which is the crit minus tenacity. Then you have to pass the block check, if that helps it make more sense, help the medicine go down. But as far as damage dealers, block ignore is going to be your ace in the hole to deal more damage. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have any more questions, and until next time, guys.